Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Illuminate, where we are being joined by special guest Emily Brooks, who's here to talk to us today about claiming your divine sovereignty and divine inheritance. Emily is a wife, mother, teacher, surfer, writer, speaker, and spiritual mindset mentor who created her dream life in Costa Rica just weeks before the global pandemic of 2020. She considers herself a part of the Holy Spirit lineage and is a messenger of love, non duality, and unity. Using science, spirituality, and sustained alignment practices, she helps her clients free themselves of fear based programming so that they can experience the abundance, peace, and joy that they really are. She teaches and learns to surrender to what is now, allow what is to be the path home into the heart of the God Goddess, which is our highest calling. She believes all medicine and miracles exist in the present moment within us, and that as we clear out fear-based programming, we anchor in heaven on earth for all beings everywhere. So thank you so much for joining us here today, Emily.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for having me. I'm so grateful and honored to be having this conversation with you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
me too. And I love, as I'm reading your bio, I'm going like, yes, yes, yes. So I love
Yay!
everything that you're bringing to the table and everything that you're offering, and even the language that you're using. It's language that I can understand, like
Mm.
truly. So tell me more about how you got to move into your dream life in Costa Rica, and like what did that path look like? And was it something that you had planned prior to, or was it just like wake up one day and this is what I'm gonna do?
So that's a really interesting question. And I'm going to start in this present moment to tell you that my dream life is here in Costa Rica because this is where I want to live. I'm a surfer. I love the warm weather and the nature. And so here it is. But 2 years ago, my life completely fell apart, and the ashes are still reorganizing to
Okay.
really give me the next level. So I just want everyone to know I'm still in it,
Yeah.
even though I live in paradise. But we did not plan to move here. I'm going to try and tell this quickly. It's a long story, and it has to do with my mindset and complaint and survival mode. I was running businesses in Vermont. My husband was working on his dream project. I had two little kids. I was unhappy. I was in survival mode. I was working 7 days a week, essentially 24 hours a day, because I had a 24-hour business
Mm,
that I was responsible for. My nervous system was shot, and I would still go through these periods of not having any money because life is expensive and
yeah.
being a business owner is expensive. And so I'm raising these little kids, putting my businesses first because we're taught to do that
Yeah.
essentially. I mean, you got to make the money, you got to make the money, you got to make the money. But I saw how all that I was doing to make money was sacrificing from my family, and
Mm,
I couldn't be the mother that I wanted. And I was angry at my young kids who at the time were, like a year old and 3 years old. I was kind of taking it out on them
yeah.
and noticing patterns being passed down. My 3 year old started having anger responses that mimicked mine, and I had this wake up moment that I was like, OMG, oh my gosh, goddess, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I had had a spiritual awakening in my early 20s and had a very strong connection to spirit. But as we fall back to sleep in life,
Yeah.
I had fallen back to sleep to my own personal power.
Mm,
And so I was looking at my life situation around me, my life circumstances, and being very unhappy. And then I was resenting and blaming and focusing on complaint. And
yeah.
that was creating obviously more to complain about. So my first, I just want, this is very important. The first thing I did was I had to change my mindset about my reality.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did. And like I couldn't have gone anywhere and done anything about changing my mindset. This is a really interesting process. And I hope that somebody can hear this. So I changed my mindset by remembering that I am the creator of my reality.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the creator of the events that happen in my reality, not necessarily all the time, but the creator of my experience of reality.
Yeah.
That I could choose scarcity, complaint, poverty mindset, or I could choose abundance, patience, that mindset, the
Yeah.
expansive mindset. And so I committed for about 18 months. I was working on my mindset and it worked. I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and every time that I would go to complain, I would be like, oh, oh, I don't want more of that. So I'm trying not to, let me my mind back in.
Yeah.
Oh, and I would go move right directly to something I'm grateful for. Hey, look, I have food in my fridge. Oh, look, my body is functioning the way it's supposed to. I'm pain free right now. And I did that for a very long time, it felt like. And I did get happier. I also got busier. I opened another business because we were in financial like trouble essentially. This is a very modern story. I was a business owner running my own business. I had to open another business to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I was basically running those businesses all by myself as my husband is working on his dream, which I support, but wasn't making any money. And I had the kids, and I woke up, it was like June of night 2019, and I had been working on my mind for like a year, about a year,
Yeah.
maybe almost a year. And I was happier. I was happier with nothing changing except for I was getting busier. So this is my first, oh, we can actually make ourselves happier regardless of
Mm.
what's going on based on how we're choosing to think. So, but the next important part is I still had a mental breakdown because of the overstimulation. Like my soul was so done being this like survival mode parenting chaos, like
Yeah.
absolute chaos. And I was like, oh my gosh. And still at Christmas time, I would run out of money, and my credit card would be declined for groceries, and I wouldn't know how to pay. And I was still having those experiences.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wait a second, I'm done. And I really, it's like that boyfriend, those in the past when you've had a boyfriend that you're kind of like, yeah, oh, well, let's get back together. No, I don't know if it's the thing, but let's just see because it's comfortable. Then you reach a point where you're like, I'm done.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
how I felt with my life at that moment. Like, I am done. I'm not doing this anymore. And I told my husband, I can't. I can't do this anymore. I have to have us shift our lives. I cannot maintain this.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay. I said, I want us to go somewhere this winter. I don't want to live here in the winter. I was living in northern Vermont, like near Montreal, Canada, very cold.
Okay. I'm in Ontario, so I
Oh
understand.
gosh, so cold. Those
Yeah,
winters
I
are
know.
so long. I hope you have like a light machine or something. My gosh, get a
Yeah.
light machine. I don't know. I struggled with a little bit of seasonal depressive disorder or whatever
Yeah.
that's called. But so I told my husband, like, let's go somewhere this winter in the sun. I need a nervous system reset, man. And he's like, okay, well, like the winters are busy time. I'm like, I don't care about money anymore. Right now, I
Mm.
need my nervous system to feel safe. I
Yeah.
need to not yell at my kids. The money is not working for me
Yeah.
in that way. And so he said, okay, well, I let him choose the date, and she chose February 26, 2020, that we would leave. We decided on Costa Rica through a variety of reasons. And we left without enough money really to like take 10 weeks in Costa Rica. I want everyone to also hear that. We were not prepared.
Yeah.
I did not have a bank account with money being like, okay, I had two businesses I was running, and we were living essentially week to week, like
Okay.
most people do. But we came to Costa Rica, and then that's where 2 weeks later the pandemic was like there, and the officials were like, "You should go back to Vermont and anchor in." And there was no way I was doing that. Nor could I even really afford to do that because I didn't have enough money to put down a deposit and first month's rent
Mm.
anywhere in Stowe, Vermont, which is very expensive. So I was like, we're just going to ride it out. And then 6 months later, we're like, I think we live here. And that was the start of our story in Costa
Amazing.
Rica. And it's been a very big adventure, and it hasn't been all easy and rainbows and butterflies,
Yeah.
because it's still life, and you bring yourself where you go. And
Yeah.
yeah, but that's the story.
Awesome. And I think it's so great that you talk about, even though this is kind of the dream life, there's still stuff that comes up that is not preferred. Because I think we all have this inner belief that once I get so far,
Mhm.
life is just going to be blissful. And it's the biggest fallacy that there is out there. And it all comes back to the mindset. How are you meeting how life is showing up versus how are you reacting to life as it shows up?
I really fell into that for so much around money. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm still actually going through it, is that I still have this deep unconscious belief and conscious, but mainly unconscious at this point, that money will solve my problems.
Mm,
And actually part of my undoing and the tower moment, the falling apart of my life, one of the lessons that I would say it was a $250,000 lesson that I learned.
okay. Fun.
Okay, fun. Great. Let's see. But you know what? The universe is never a debtor, and I know that money's
Yeah.
coming back in some way or form. I trust it. But I met millionaires, a millionaire who had millions of dollars in the bank, plus all this property and whatnot. Like, really, oh, that's where I want to be. And then I saw the way they behaved in life, and they were fear
Mm,
based and scarcity minded, unhappy marriage, control freaks, and like focused on losing their money. Oh, so afraid of
yeah.
losing their millions of dollars. Speaking to us, the people who have like $100 in our bank account to zero, like at any given day, and we're free. And
Yeah.
we most of the time we're feeling in trust and faith and in gratitude. And I was like, like
Ye-
total paradigm shift. You mean money doesn't give me the feelings of abundance that I want to have necessarily? And so that's another thing. You're thinking we're going to live our way to where we want to be through these physical circumstances.
Yeah.
And my life has been one of learning, no, you become what you want. You
Yeah.
become that abundance and like anchor into it and uncover it. And you become that peace and uncover it and root into it in the here and now. And then I think we just wait patiently for life to reorganize itself. It's still an experiment, so I'll let you know in another 6 months.
No, you bring up such a great point, though, that it doesn't actually matter how much money you have in your account, whether or not you feel abundant or if you feel the
Mhm,
scarcity.
mhm,
And it's
mhm,
such a paradigm shift in the mind, especially when you guys took that leap to go to Costa Rica. It wasn't
mhm,
because you waited until you had enough money to do it. Because I find that's
mhm.
what a lot of people say is, when I have the money, I'll do it. And sometimes we need to take those leaps and trust that the universe is going to follow suit afterwards to go, yeah, you're going to be okay.
Yes, it's honestly the best decision I made was making an unprepared decision and leaping before I was ready. And
Yeah.
I really love that Terrence McKenna quote, which I will post in the comments of the video of that, this is the secret. This is the secret is that if you leap, you will fall into this net of the universe. If you follow your heart and it doesn't go through the mind and practicality, because what we've done is completely unpractical and insane in
Yeah.
some regards and this is an adventurer life. This is not for people who want to live the same life every day and have exactly what they think. This is an adventurer life, and you sacrifice creature comforts and this
Mm,
comfort of being able to attach to external circumstances for safety.
yeah.
But you get this kind of sense of freedom that like comes from that. And so, yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah. It
Life's so cool.
absolutely is. Yes. And
And I really noticed, like, I just wanted to bring up that other. I'm really into the non-duality, which I had mentioned. I
yeah.
really see how it's all one. I really see how the sadness is required for the joy. I
Yeah.
really see how my experiences of scarcity are actually the building blocks to my abundance. And so
Yes.
this is where I know we can live a fear-free life when we really realize that whatever we're going through, no matter how uncomfortable, is actually the route to where we want to be. Then
Yes.
we can just like, yes, we're going to have emotional reactions. Yes, we're going to feel emotions, but we can come back to center in trust and be like, I know this is bringing me to where I want to be. And I
Yes.
and I feel that, in my body as alignment to my truth.
Beautiful. One of the quotes that my husband and I have up on our whiteboard is it's very simple. It's they're alternatives, not opposites. And so
Oh,
with like sadness and joy, it's the
yeah,
same spectrum. It's just an
yeah,
alternative to one or the other. And it has helped so much in that non-duality of thinking that it's not white or black, it's just an alternative, right?
yeah.
It's
I
not up
love
or
that.
down. It's just an alternative in that perception. And it helps so much to help me stay rooted in I don't have to react to what
Yeah.
these things are and go, this is good or this is bad, this is acceptable, this is
Yes.
non-acceptable. It's just like, oh, that's an interesting alternative that's showing up. Why am I experiencing that right now?
I love that because I think that's a step closer to the truth of it. Whereas if I'm really, with the way I look at it, is opposites, but that's still kind of the polarization, the duality. And I like that you kind of like made that. It's like they say that excitement and anxiety are kind of the same frequency. And
Yeah.
so like, do I feel anxiety or do I feel excitement? Well, it's up to my mind, sort of thing.
Yes. And that's where that sovereign piece really starts to come in for
Mhm.
people, I feel, is that,
Mhm.
oh, it's a choice.
Yes, it's always a choice. And I admittedly choose fear programming sometimes. I admittedly choose
Yeah.
scarcity. I admittedly choose unworthiness. But something that Yeshua says, I'm really a huge follower of like A Course in Miracles and The Way
Yeah.
of the Heart. These Yeshua channeled, I would call them scriptures because they feel so pure to me, although in the Christian canon believes they're absolute trash. So, but to me, I'm like, yes, like it reverberates in my soul. And something Yeshua says is that like, there's nothing in your experience that exists there without your choice of it, without you choosing it. It benefits you in some way. And Bashar says a similar thing when he's
Yeah.
channeling. He says, if you knew that everything that you are experiencing is going to benefit you, then what do you care? What do you care what it is, you know?
Yeah.
I'm still aiming and seeking that detachment. I just want
Okay.
everyone to know. I still get triggered. I have 3 kids. I have
Yep.
responsibilities for more than myself. So I still experience human emotions, but I do love the keys to the kingdom that says that the peace is inside. That stillness is inside. It's our thinking mind that clutters the experience of heaven here.
Yes.
Right here, this is all there is. I am right here is fine. Like, okay, I can be happy with now. I can be content with now. And seeing how I'm, magnetized or created or lived my way into, however you want to say it, Costa Rica, was finding contentment in my life in a systematic way. And it's funny because I'm kind of, how we cycle in like, everything's a cycle. We just
Yeah.
like return and come around and return. Well, I'm kind of in that same position that I was about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 7 years ago, 7 year cycle of having to find contentment more and more in situations and circumstances that I wish were different. And
Mm.
I think that's a universal thing.
Yes.
We always want something different. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I'm now like, okay, it hasn't worked out yet the way I want it to work out.
Yeah.
How can I find contentment and patience and just be happy with where I'm at? And it is a moment to moment practice. And
Oh,
that's what I teach and that's
absolutely.
what I learn. Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say is your biggest struggle then as you're learning this
Mhm.
to bring yourself back into that centeredness, to remember these deep truths?
Hormones.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Hormones. My PMS week, my luteal stage, I have a hard time being patient and energetic. Also, like, and I've talked to my friends in menopause or perimenopause, which I might be in. I'm not sure. I just had a baby 2 years ago. Doesn't mean I'm not in perimenopause, but the emotions are a big factor in our ability to handle life and have let things rise through. The other thing I have found is that if I get buzzy on alcohol, that'll throw me off for like
Mm.
3 days energetically. I love partaking in a drink or two, relaxes my nervous system around 3 kids that just like, ah. But if I ever overdo it, I notice a difference in my vibration the next day. So that's probably true of other lower vibrational substances that we choose out of maybe a feeling of survival,
Yeah.
right? Because I do very still feel a bit in survival mode, even though I'm in paradise right now.
Yeah.
And it's sunny and beautiful, and I go to the pool every day. It's so good. I have such a good life, right? But if I choose a shortcut, I tend to pay the price later. So,
Gotcha. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that you bring up hormones because it's something that I was actually just reading a post about it yesterday, how a lot of the sacred texts and religious concepts and stuff don't actually take into consideration the woman's cycles and the emotional periods that she goes through. And so when we think of like Buddhist consciousness or Christ consciousness and stuff, and it's like you have to serve more. And it's like the woman's going, I have been serving everybody for the past 20 years, and you have to find a state of peace within. And it's like, well, I can until the week before my period. And then I've just got all this stuff coming up. So it was like, how do we start to switch some of this language so that we can incorporate the female body into these sacred texts as well, which I was just like mind blown by.
Oh my gosh, Catherine, thank you so much for bringing that up because that is another piece of the puzzle of why I've been called to move into the divine feminine Christ energy, to the marriage of the divine feminine and the Christ blueprint within us. And within that, I have a really like I found the Sophia Code recently
Yeah.
through you heard my story on my a crazy story of how that book came into my life. But I found the Sophia Code and it was like, oh, this is another step this is part of the event that I have coming up. I was like, this is another step on my journey. I am here to like bring the feminine back, be one of the people to remind us of the feminine. And in that there is that non-duality and oneness because like when we look at the feminine womb of
Yes.
darkness, of that is the essential start of life. And you know, we have historically been like, oh no, darkness, oh yes,
Yes.
light, without realizing the darkness is actually this fertile ground for growth. And so even Catherine, even this is how perfect life is and how perfect we there's this inherent deep perfection about life where that's why it's our ashram. That's why life is just the most, we don't have to travel anywhere to go deep into like truth. It's just like here and now.
Yeah.
Even in what I would call my like, oh, I failed because I dysregulated last week for a full week. I mean, the energies were intense, let's be real. But like I kind of sometimes whip myself as a spiritual teacher. Oh, you've chose complaint and the effort and like all these things, but and you gave into the fear. But no, but truly the fear of like the fear is actually also what propels action.
Yeah.
And I know we're like, oh no, don't take fear for action. But no, my fear helped me reach out to 5 people about work. And now I have a job teaching yoga. You know, like if
Amazing.
I was just like, oh, if I was just in like the feminine of receiving and like I have everything I need, I wouldn't move much. It's
Yeah.
in the darkness, it's in the contraction. And you see this in labor through what a woman goes through in labor.
Yeah.
The contraction helps push it into reality. And so
Yes.
the womb can be dark and it can be uncomfortable and it can be like discombobulating. It's not something we love, but it's also to be cherished and a holy part of life as well. So I want to talk more about that. I want us to like, thank you for
Yes.
bringing that up. I love that idea that it's like most of these ascended masters are just men and they function differently and
Yes.
that's why I love the Sophia Code and all of the ascended masters are the females in that lineage
Yes.
just teaching us like all the kinds of feminine things. Ooh, so juicy, I love
Yes,
it.
yes. And I love that you bring up, that last week was like a hard week or whatever. And then you go into the, oh my God, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm not supposed to be acting like this. But I don't think we can actually truly teach the concepts unless we understand ourselves how difficult it is to go through it on a human level. And
100%.
I don't know about you, but what I found is because like it shows up and I react to life at times and I'm like,
Of
oh,
course.
oops, that reaction came out of nowhere. Didn't mean to do that. But what I find now is even though there's a reaction, in the past, I used to get so caught in it. And I would become that kind of reaction for a
Yeah.
day or 2 days or a week or and
Yeah.
sometimes even years where I'm just, replaying that same thing over and over again. But now there's that kind of period where it's like, oh, I've got this reaction. I've got an awareness of the reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that. That was 5 minutes. I felt it.
Yes.
I allowed myself to fully feel it. I didn't go, I can't feel this right now because I'm too spiritual to feel. It's just
Yes.
allowing it to move through us.
That's such a good point. And that's one of the things I look at and I'm really grateful to see that I have even in the last 2 years, because when my life fell apart and I got really it hurt very much. There was a deception and betrayal, and like
Mm.
really the gifts felt like swords into my
Yeah.
being, and there's a trauma there. I became very tender, and my reactions were more. And so I've already healed my nervous system over the last couple of years, and I see, oh, I can respond differently to this now. And I do agree, the awareness of watching ourselves and therefore not getting so wrapped up in the emotion and identifying and believing our thoughts and believing our emotions as true. It
Yeah.
allows that like tiny bit of space, the tiny bit of space that can allow us to disengage from that, what would be an emotional cycle or a down spiral or whatever. So I love that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's always so hard too, as a mom, to
Oh
try and keep yourself in that kind of regulated, balanced space while
yeah.
also dealing with whatever emotions the kids have going on and their dysregulated nervous systems as
Yeah.
well, and just the constant need at times that they have.
Yeah, and I mean, overstimulation is a thing with moms. Moms
Yeah.
are, I mean, especially moms of multiples are super
Yeah.
overstimulated, or moms of special needs or especially needy children are very overstimulated. And this kind of brings up like, well, I'm also kind of working and trying to do the work thing as well
Yeah.
as be the mother and do the home thing. And so I do feel all this pressure, and the balance is hard to find, which is why like I do believe we're meant to live in community. We're meant
Yeah.
to share the burdens of our burdens, as my friend calls our kids, the little burdens. Just joking, but we're meant to share and support each other. And
Yeah.
right now, this is the end of this old world where we're so individualistic, we're so separated from each other, and so it's all on us. Parenting is not supposed to be that way. It is supposed to be a village supporting the parents, supporting the kids, and allowing like a more of a balanced weight
Yeah.
around everyone. And that's actually what, we were trying to create that here in Costa Rica, as having a health and healing center and kind of community where there was more of that. And I hope that that is the divine plan, and that we are moving through the creation of that after it fell apart. But I'm looking forward to creating new thought, new earth, new, however you want to put this new era that we're living into, support systems and architecture.
Yeah.
And I do relate to, as a new earth architect, like how can we create villages? How can we make
Mm.
life more sustainable? How can we grow more organic food? How can we reduce waste and all that stuff? That's all stuff that
Yeah.
we can only do when we're out of survival mode. And I
Mhm.
know we are all rising out of survival mode. I don't know exactly when, but I trust it. I believe it, because then we can really focus on the luxury of nervous system regulation and manifestation, and becoming in aligned, and like
Yeah.
helping everybody else, and serving the world,
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's so great that you bring up, the luxury of
and
nervous
it's
system
luxury.
regulation. It
Totally.
absolutely is. And it's not something that everybody has access to,
Mm-mm. No.
and that's my hope for this world, is that these privileges that
Yeah.
I've had to learn what I've learned throughout the years and whatnot, that it can just become expendable to absolutely everybody.
Yes. This is why, thank you. This is why I have been called in the last year, even though I mean, I'm currently overcoming extreme financial challenges. I still feel called to offer all of my stuff on a donation basis, or like
Mm.
I offer scholarships, because I really, being somebody who's not been able to invest in myself, not been able to have programs that I can join, because I just can't, I don't have the money. I don't know how we're going to get groceries today. In fact, like
Yeah,
it's going to work out. It'll be fine. Thank you to the grace of God and others. But like, I just feel called to really just like, if you want the services that I provide, if you want to be a part of the group container that I have starting in January, and you can't pay, come on, let's talk. Let's
yeah,
get you in there and we'll figure it out. And you don't have to pay initially. And when money comes, you can pay or whatever, because it's really, it gives back to me to give to the world. And I also need it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I also need it. I'm not just like this, I'm not an elevated guru. We're all in this together. We're all walking each other home. And
yeah.
so,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
more of that.
beautiful. That is
Mhm.
beautiful. Now, let's talk about this divine inheritance because I know you've got this event happening next
Mhm.
Saturday, and it's
Yes.
about reclaiming your divine inheritance and your divine sovereignty. So, what
Yeah.
is divine inheritance in your terms and divine sovereignty in your terms?
I think the way I want to talk about it is through the history and kind of where we're at in the history of the human being. And this, I don't even I don't know much about it. I have like friends who've awakened their soul memory and have this memory of the last 12,000 years on Earth and how things have become twisted and distorted with fear-based programming. You can call it the fall, right? You
Yeah.
can like call it in the historical, the tree of good and evil
Mm.
duality,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
thinking of that I'm separated, the separated mind self.
Yeah.
It's really a deprogramming. It's really a removal and kind of like an exorcism of deep, 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 deep fear based, which is separation consciousness based programming. And that has blocking or I don't even like to use the word blocking, temporarily, like a cloud covering what is ours to
Mm.
experience in the here and now, which is sovereign joy and sovereign inner peace and patience
Yeah.
and compassion and really the Christ like within us,
Yeah.
the awakening of that Christ within us, while also acknowledging that Jesus flipped tables. That it doesn't always mean being one way, right? We can honor the variety of experiences here on earth, but lead from love, lead from
Yes.
peace, lead from faith, and lead from trust, and then return back to center from that.
Mm.
So when I think about divine inheritance, it is that we are all treasured children of the one true prime creator, whatever you want to call you can think of the feminine womb birthing the trinity, however you want to like understand. I don't really care. I'm like an omnius. I'm like, ooh, can I see truth in this? Ooh, can I see truth in this? This is cool, where everyone has a little bit of truth. um uh I do just see so many systems, and I see this in religion because I didn't grow up in religion, but I did through my breakdown and really seeking more stability, go to church and start reading the Bible, and I actually found it to be really supportive for a while, and I could read and see and like truth in the Bible and be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is the truth that I've come to without even knowing the Bible. And also I had the experience of the church and religion, and this is just a reflection of fear-based separation consciousness of the church people saying, "But you can't be who you are and go to heaven.
Yeah.
You can't be who you are and be follower of Jesus. You can't." And
Yes.
and so I was rejected more than accepted. And then when I look at the life of Jesus in the Bible, for the most part, he just accepted everybody. And I was
Yes.
like, I don't understand how did Christianity became so different than what Christ came to tell us, what Jesus
Yes.
came to say. And it wasn't, and we look at all these ascended masters, and Yeshua was like, he's one of many, right? He's the most famous, maybe the most powerful, maybe the most high, that could be, who knows.
Yeah.
And he is a guide of mine and a brother, and I'm so deeply grateful, and he's changed my life. Like the
Yeah.
ascended master Yeshua has changed my life. 100%. Thank you. And also is part of my my role here is to break that up. Like, and whether this is wrong, like I don't know. I don't know what ultimate truth is, but the spirit that guides me says build bridges,
Yeah.
seek sameness, unify,
Yeah.
see how it's the same. But you know what? People call me a follower of Lucifer. Like the
Yeah.
religious people say, oh no, that's Lucifer. I'm like, so your God, the most high, says to separate, to elitism, like I'm better than you, you're less than, divide. And shame and blame and guilt, that's the most high God, because my God, if it's Lucifer, is saying just love.
Yeah.
Just love and accept and
Yeah.
allow
Yeah.
everyone to be exactly who they are. Everyone to be exactly who they are, because that feels more true to me. And
Yeah.
so I'm here to
Yes.
like bring that and like shatter this illusion that we have to be a certain way or perform a certain way or not have a breakdown last week to be loved and accepted and
Yes.
saved, because we
Yes.
already are.
Yes.
There's nothing we need to do. We're already whole, perfect, and complete right now. And I get emotional because in that realization is deep healing that
Oh,
does
yeah,
not just benefit us, but it benefits the entire collective. And that's why I do this work.
absolutely. That's beautiful. And the passion that just came through you, the absolute truth in your words is like, this is the message of God, of love, is about building this unity with each other. And
Yeah.
instead of seeing and getting so caught up on what are people's actions and what are people's beliefs, because it's all illusion, right?
Yes.
And to go, where is the God in you? That is what my
Yes.
journey has been for the past couple of years is
Yes.
I call it walking the edges of my love. So if I find
Mm,
anybody that I'm like, I don't know if I can love this one too, it's like, where can I find love for this person? Where can I
yeah.
become more accepting of this person? Where can I be more compassionate
Yep.
towards what their experience is? Because I'm not that special.
Yeah.
You know, who are we to think that we can condemn someone else for what their choices are, for what their behaviors are, for what their expressions are? I'm not
Mm-mm.
that special, you
No.
know?
I had a really strong, I've had some several downloads in my life, just like full body remembrances.
Yeah,
And one of them when I was like 19 years old. I've been a seeker like since I was 10,
me too.
outside of church. But like one of those downloads, I was just walking on my street one day and I just was like, I just got the whole divine innocence
Mm,
download that like
yes.
everyone is innocent, responsible but innocent because if you,
Yes.
you trace it back the generations, you trace it back to the parents, to the grandparents, to like the society, to the teachers. We're just kind of these programs playing out these
Yeah.
programs, and this is how I like unify both fate and free will. But I love that's for another conversation. But like everyone is divinely innocent and
Yes.
deserving of compassion and love. Everyone.
Yes.
Everyone. And that's so triggering to people because we
Yeah.
still live in a world that says, look at that narcissist, like narcissism everywhere. They're a narcissist. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Narcissist. You're an evil person. And I do see that in myself.
Yeah.
I do see the way that I point and blame and judge.
Yeah.
But I think that's illusion. That's the illusion that I sometimes fall into. But I,
Absolutely.
I know the truth is that everyone is exactly who they're supposed to be on their evolution and all paths lead home. That's
Yeah.
my deep belief. And so that is why there's no fear. There's no fear. It's okay. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter what you've been doing. It doesn't matter how good you are or like what of a sinner you are. It doesn't matter. All paths lead home. It's okay.
Yeah.
Give your life to God. Give your life to the divine. Seek love. Seek that kingdom
Yeah.
within you and then let all things unfold.
Yes. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I think it is so easy in our society in the way that we've been brought up, the way that we're shown in movies on, like there's so many different programs constantly.
Yep.
And in that, there's always that judgment and punishment kind of duality that happens. And we're taught anything that looks different, we point the finger at. And it's been going on throughout history. So it's not something that I think we can erase like
No.
that. But it is so interesting to me that most of us crave a togetherness. Most of us
Mhm.
crave a connection, but we're also the same ones who are creating disconnection by
Yeah.
looking at someone else and going, that is how they're wrong, you know? And it
Yes.
is really just an invitation for us to come back to this love consciousness within us and the oneness within us.
For me, it's really easy to love people. I have like, I mean, like love them and not want them in my life, like
Mm, yep,
love them on a spiritual level, like really, because most people are really like good people and they try
yep,
their best and they do there's very few like really evil people out there, so it's pretty easy for me to love, but accepting, um, being attacked for who I am and
mm,
accepting and, like for that, I have like a bit of a
yeah,
that I'm working on. But
yep,
you said something. You were like, "Well, we can't just change it like that," and we can't. And the only place we can change it, which is what you brought up, is inside ourselves.
yes,
And like, oh, how can I deconstruct this
yeah.
inside myself, and then allow other people to do that
Yeah.
simultaneously?
But
But
and I always find asking myself, where do I also do this? Or
yes,
at what point in my
yes,
life did I actually think acting like that
yes.
was like the
Oh.
normal response?
When I went through all this stuff, that is exactly right. When I went through all this stuff, and I had this one person who was just, because I valued her the most, she was the hardest person to
Mm,
forgive, in this. And I looked at her and I was like, wow, you are a former version of myself. And so I
mm,
believe the only person we ever have to forgive is ourselves and our
yes.
past versions.
Yes.
I absolutely was judgmental and like was the exact way that she was, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I just have to forgive myself for being that way. And then through the compassion, and Yeshua talks about that in A Way of the Heart, which I absolutely love. He talks about, I would forgive the murderer by remembering when I had murderous thoughts. And then
Yes.
now that's blasphemy, right? To the Christian who's like, they never, no sins, no sins. But Yeshua says in The Way of the Heart, I came as you, I came
Yeah.
as you, and I just went through and I mastered the world. I mastered my mind. I overcame the world. You have not yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, to hear him say that, I'm like, yes, how many times have I had murderous thoughts? Like, I have.
Yes.
I have had a blind rage where I'm like, I am going to kill my husband. Not really, but
No, I
pretty
know.
close.
Well, and the other aspect of that that I've been really taking in is like I have killed insects before.
Of
I have
course.
killed
Of
rodents, a mouse
course.
that came in my house and I've killed
Of
it.
course.
And
Of
it's
course.
like, oh, I am just the same. It's a
Yeah.
different level,
Sure.
right? We value a
Sure.
human's life more than a mouse's life or a
Yeah.
mosquito or whatever. But it was still
Yeah.
a consciousness that I chose to bring to an end,
Yes.
consciously, sometimes unconsciously, whatever.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, so if I can hold that awareness for myself and go, oh, I did this. I can have
Yes.
that compassion for myself. Why did I think it was a good choice? Because I didn't want the mouse in my house.
Yeah.
Why did someone else think that was a good choice? Well, that sometimes I don't necessarily understand, but that's where I get curious to go
Yeah.
help me to understand what would make this the best choice at
Yes.
the time. Because I
Yep.
think when we have more awareness or a better understanding or a better state of mind, a better state of emotions, we don't make the hard choices that
Mm-hmm.
some people will make. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so
Absolutely.
we can judge it and we can go, I would never, can you believe that someone would ever? And it's like, well, let's get curious about it.
Yeah.
What would
Yep.
drive someone to go, this is the best choice I can make at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a good soul sister, or a group of soul sisters, about how oftentimes what we point our finger at, judge and be like, I would never do that. Life has a funny way of bringing us that same circumstances in which we do behave that way. And it is
Yes.
sort of like a balancer. And so now I'm really careful of not judging, because I'm like, I don't want to do that. So, okay, whatever, you do you. I trust that this is a part of the divine plan, and there's karma and there's a balancing of energies that we don't even see. This is why we call it the divine mystery. It's not like I'm going to intellectually figure it out. It's not like we can always rely on, oh, this is why. I mean, I do that to myself a lot. I'm like, oh, this is probably why. But do I know anything? No. Does it make me feel like I'm in control to be like, this is probably, they probably is because they weren't loved as children. That's why. And how can we not have compassion for little kids that weren't loved? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
gosh, I'm so sorry. And of course you feel this way and you want to act like this in the world?
Yeah.
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 Forgiveness is the way. Forgiveness is the way.
Yeah. And I think too, like when you talk about like, oh, they weren't loved as little children, so often, like when babies are born in the world, we look at them and we go, oh, they're just perfect.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
this perfect representation of God and its divinity, and like, look at just how perfect this person is. And then they hit like two.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, this person has their own mind and they've got their own behaviors and they're making choices I don't like. Now I need to correct them. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, they're actually just as divine now. And then we become adults and we're even more separated from that. And we forget that at one point in time, we were all just these perfect little beings. And we
Yeah.
still are, but we've become
Still
so
are.
separated from that remembrance of what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and that reminds me of how we are, usually, not everyone, pretty compassionate about people with mental illness, and because
Mm,
we know that they're out of their mind. But we are mentally ill anytime that we are in a fear-based belief system is separation consciousness. We are mentally ill, and so we can only act insane. And so bringing that same compassion for somebody who hurts you, somebody who tears you down, somebody who says,
Yeah.
like, I literally watched in the comment section, this is what I got into the other day. I don't usually, I swear, but I watched this woman who's all spiritual. I'm deciding I'm going to make comedy about this because it's the best way to approach it. But this, like, so spiritual, like elitism, like I am the crescent one and y'all are just Lucifer's children. Like literally, like you are not of the light. And like to claim that you know that about somebody who just simply said, oh, I was guided to bring this rock to Mount Shasta and do grid work. And the woman was like, oh, Luciferian, you're just not of the light. And I was like, how dare you, essentially? Like I even lost my chain of thought. What were we talking about? Because there was a story about that. I got into the comment. I don't know.
We
We're
were
all the
talking about the divinity, the perfection that we
Yeah, the
all are.
perfection, exactly. And that person was perfected in who they are, and she
Yeah.
represents an aspect of myself, who's elitism, be like, oh, that person's so asleep. Oh, the Christians, they don't really know God. You know what I mean? Like it's like the
Yeah.
same. Everything's a reflection, and when we can see it in ourselves, then we can dysregulate the charge. We can like reduce the charge. The charge is no longer there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If we can like have forgiveness for ourselves, be like, oh, silly. And that's where humility comes from. This is what I really
Yes.
do like a lot of the Christian like belief
Oh,
systems. Like
yeah.
I relate to them. I'm like, yes, humility is of God. Like if I think I got it figured out, life is gonna humble me, man. And humility is
Yes.
where we should come from. It's like, I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't really
Yeah.
know.
Well, humility was such a huge lesson for me. I'm going to say about a year and a half ago. And I was dealing with my daughter, and she's a bit older. She's, going through university and whatnot, and emotional and hormonal and all
Hmm.
the things going on.
Hmm.
And I can watch her being so kind and sweet and considerate to other people but then with mom, it's a different experience of her. And she was having this really, really rough week. And I was being patient with her all week, knowing that she had exams, she had boyfriend trouble, she had car trouble. Like she had a lot going on.
Hmm.
And I got to a point where I looked at my husband and I was like, I don't know why she doesn't think that she should treat me better than this. I am her mother. Like there should be, there's blah, 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 all these stories.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
as I was saying it, I kind of went, who am I to think I'm so special that I
Hmm.
should not be treated this way? Hasn't
Hmm.
every mother throughout history had to deal with a child who takes out all their stuff on them?
Yes.
Humble yourself, woman.
Yes. That's part of parenting. Is being the whipping post and the blame because
Yes,
it's from love because she feels safe with you and it's where she can
yes,
let it out and it's like helpful for her and if we can just remember that like you did and be able to hold that even though
yeah,
it might be a little painful and without lashing back, man, that's where
yeah.
lineages of healing come in.
Oh, and I think there needs to be humbleness or
Yeah.
humility for all of us to
Yeah.
realize that none of us are so special that life is just going to magically unfold the way that we
Mm.
want to, and everybody's just going to see how much work we've done, or how healed we are, or how loving we tried. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not
and
set
and
up
in
that
truth
way.
we are all so very special we are all so very special and we're not
Yes.
special at all. Like I
Yeah.
really love like it's both true, like we're
Yeah.
all the same so we're not really special but we're all like really special. And then oh man, like just with the life challenges that I've had when you're like we don't expect life to unfold, but like if life unfolded, if we could just like have this easy life, it wouldn't be interesting. It
Yeah, it
wouldn't
would
be
be
growth
boring.
enhancing. Who watches a movie that's like everyone like you get what you want the whole time and like the good stories are through the challenges, through the
Yeah.
struggles and even like again I'll even quote the Bible because my Christian friends have looked at my life as we've struggled through this hard season and says, well, it's because you're not like a true, you're not living up to the Christ. You're not like a true follower of Jesus. You need to change who your belief systems and who you essentially
Yeah.
are and then you'll be blessed. And then I read in the Bible, James 1, like 1 through 3 is like, whenever you find yourself in trouble, rejoice. Be joyful. Be happy. Consider yourself blessed, essentially, when
Yeah.
you confront troubles of any kind, because that is the gift. It's better than just getting all the money at once. It's better than getting all everyone to treat you nice at once. The gift is the grit. The gift is
Yes.
the challenge, because then we do become lacking in nothing. That's the end of that. When we have like shown away all of our needs and desires and wants and this like ego stuff, we become lacking in nothing. We become who we really are, perfect, whole, and complete. And it's through those challenges and the difficulties and the initiations by fire and like the phoenix moments that like we become who we're truly meant to be. And so
Yes.
like life is always unfolding the way it's supposed to, right? Just not the way we
Yeah.
want it to.
And that's just it, right? It's like this is not my preferred way.
No.
But then I've been shifting myself to go, what is God's way?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not
Mm-hmm.
again losing that kind of idea of specialness. And I've been reading about it in A Course in Miracles recently,
Yeah.
which was why I think I keep attaching to this idea of, right, I'm not that special.
Yeah.
Um, Even though we do have that specialness within us.
Yeah.
But what is God's plan? And
Yeah.
can I be willing to serve God's plan more so than my own plan? You know?
Yes. That's surrender. That's divine
Yes.
surrender. And that's
Yes.
and it's our deepest plan, because our higher self or our God self, that's our plan for us. And that might be in part of what Yeshua was talking about, that we
Yeah.
agreed to come into this life. We wrote that contract. He said, we're going to agree to have this happen and this happen and this happen. And so that was of our choosing, even if it wasn't of our conscious choosing. And the way that
Yeah.
we have created our lives as a part of this beautiful symphonic kind of collaboration of all these different souls and people and all that stuff, it's like it is quite brilliant. It's really
Yes.
brilliant. It's really
Yes.
brilliant. And surrendering and letting go is probably, if I were to be like, what's the one thing you should tell people? Like, well, the one thing is just like surrender, allow, let it be. Like all those things like that, that's probably one of the biggest keys.
Oh, absolutely. And probably the hardest one for people as
Oh,
well.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I'm letting go. I'm letting, oops.
Yeah,
You know?
all the time. That's the vigilance required. That's why we do coaching. That's why we have sacred circles to hold ourselves accountable, is to be like, "Oh yeah, that's where I chose worry again, even though I was putting my worries, I cast my worries, right? But then I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to worry about this because.
Yeah. And I mean, as you were talking about this kind of refining and like finding that rejoicing when things are happening, what I was seeing in my mind is like a grain of wheat that's like, I really want to serve my purpose here and I really want to nurture people and nourish people. And then it gets
Oh,
cut down and it's like, oh, why is
yeah.
this happening to me? Right. And then it's like thrashed. And I don't know the whole process of turning wheat into flour,
Yes.
but just imagine that whole process. And it's all to help it serve its purpose in
Yes.
nourishing people. But
Yes.
it's like you're just getting completely beat up piece of wheat to become your
Totally.
purpose. So,
So I saw this on a similar thing just a couple days ago when I was very weepy still, because pre PMS. I saw this post on Instagram. Why does God break the women that He wants to use? And
mm,
I've read this whole thing, and it just made me cry, because it's like we do need to be broken in some ways, so that however you want to put it, our wounds are where the light enters, or
yeah,
like we have to come undone to be put back together in God's will and God's way. And so yeah, surrendering to that process, even though man, it's uncomfortable and undesirable in so many ways. And that's where we can honor all aspects of life and all aspects of becoming, and not seek just the light, but also honor the darkness, and not seek just the expansion, but realize the contraction is where we get ready to expand. And like the
yeah,
quantum leap requires your entire life to fall apart, and then like and then wait, and then wait, and then wait, and then wait.
yeah,
Oh, it's fun. It's an
beautiful.
adventure.
All right. So, one last question for you. Tell us about this event that you've got coming up next
Okay, great.
Saturday.
Yes, great. So next Saturday, it's specifically the circle. However, the people who I want people to sign up because I will send them an audio or a video audio of the first key code of the Sophia code. I am doing that because that's what I want, and I wasn't able to find that on YouTube anywhere. That was just key code one, key code two, key code three, so that I could sit and listen to them. They're long,
Yeah.
but it is all about returning to that like divine sovereignty of clearing these programs, these artificial intelligence programs of ego that are in us, unblocking that the beauty that is already deep within us, like, um uncovering the Christ self. And so that is part of the event. But then on Saturday, we come together in sacred circle again for a claiming. I mean, we're going to do a little bit of breath work. We're going to do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of self love. And then I want an open sharing circle where we assert what we are claiming in our lives. For instance, I have been really challenged financially. And so what I might say is that, like, in 2026, I am claiming the truth that that I am always provided for. I
Mm,
am always taken care of. And therefore I'm not relying on the external to be any different. I'm really claiming that it's all unfolding and that all of our needs are met, even if they're the base minimum needs, they're all met and I can relax. And that's part of the divine inheritance. And so I really want us to step into whatever it is that we're being challenged with right now as part of the divine inheritance, just claiming this is what I want in 2026. And then we'll have a bit of if we have time, a little meditation visualization, kind of setting the stage for 2026 and the number 1 year, I think. Yeah, it's number
yes.
1 year and it's in beginnings year. This is the endings year. I really was expecting 2025 to be like really great. And it was really good in so many ways, but I'm really looking forward to the beginning again.
Yes.
To beginning again. So let's begin again in 2026 together as a sisterhood of soul sisters. The people, like Catherine, when you said, "Oh, I so relate to you," and you're like, not everybody does. And so we are finding the people who speak our language,
Yeah.
not through exclusion, but just because this is how we communicate about God, about oneness. The people who are in the Christianity or Judaism or Muslim, they have their own language that they speak, right? And
Yeah.
so I really am also calling together Soul Tribe because it feels so good to be seen and
Mm,
heard
yeah.
and understood. That's just, not everybody does that
Yeah.
for us, not everyone can see us or hear us or understand us. And so I'm also calling together the like-minded starseed light worker tribe that is into non-duality and this spirituality and science and the combining and unity and all that stuff. And it feels really good to be uplifted together. So
Beautiful.
that's the event.
Awesome. And where can people sign up for that?
I will put a link in the comments. I'm going to create a landing page today or tomorrow for it, but I
Okay.
also have a Facebook event page already. And then and anyone can find me and just message me that they want to go, and I'll put you on the email list and get you
Perfect.
going. And it's free for all. And so I really hope, I know, I trust that those who are meant to be with us will arrive and be there. It'll be beautiful.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
you guys can also find Emily on Instagram
Hmm.
at Emily Bronwyn. Sorry, I read that wrong. At
That's
Emily
it.
Bronwyn Brooks on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, Bronwyn is Bronwyn, not Ian, but Emily Bronwyn Brooks. You could probably find me in Emily Brooks, maybe. That might be hard, but yes, I'm on Instagram there too.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you
Awesome.
so much for joining me here today, Emily, and I look forward to
Awesome.
attending your event next Saturday.
Yay! I'm so happy you're going to be there. I'm so happy to get to know you a little bit more. Feels really good. Thank you so much for having this conversation. Again, I'm grateful and honored and to have this space with you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.